And welcome back to centralcoastradio.com. You're listening to Subculture, and we have got a very, very special guest on the phone right now. As many of you already know, L7 are coming back to Australia this December for a very, very special tour. So we thought we would actually get Donita Sparks on the phone to chat a little bit about what we can expect from this tour. So welcome to the program, Donita.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Great to be here.
So, Donita, how do you feel about heading back to Australia and New Zealand? I know this is a country that you've loved touring in before, so how do you feel about heading back here with this very, very special tour?
Well, we're very excited because it has been postponed a couple times, and because of the pandemic, and so we've been disappointed, and our fans have been disappointed over there. So we're gonna come barnstorming for you guys, and we're very revved up, ready to go, and excited. And we haven't been to New Zealand since 1992. Oh, so talk about bricks are heavy. That record, the last time New Zealand saw us was touring that record. So this is going to be really fun, and we're really stoked because a lot of the shows are selling out already. I think we've got 2 sold out in Melbourne. Perth is sold out, I think. So it's looking really good. We're excited.
You left that album, and your band left such an impression on Australia. I still remember the day that I went into my local record store and bought Bricks Are Heavy. Were you aware at that time of what impact you were having on a country on the other side of the world?
We had no idea. And, we were friends, we still are friends with the Cosmic Psychos, and we went to stay at Ross Knight's farm with him outside of Melbourne, I guess it is.
Yep.
And his neighbors were kind of looky-looing and hanging around, and we, and some of his mates were they were, excited, but also, kind of joking around. I don't know. We were like, oh God, are we kind of famous here? This is wild, So that was pretty fun that we had some of the local kids around the farm coming around saying hello. Very excited to meet us.
Yeah, I call it a groundbreaking album because it was kind of a weird time in Australia at that time. I was in high school, and I can remember that radio was kind of chauvinistic at that time in Australia. We'd had a time here where we'd had bands like the Divinals go through, but when I was growing up, it was rare to hear a female-led band on the radio around that time. There was so many male-dominated music coming through, and I'm sure it was because Australia was going through a bit of a chauvinistic time at that time. That album seemed to change that, though. Suddenly L7 were being heard on the radio, but also a lot of other bands that were coming through at the time with female lead singers were also being played on radio. Were you aware of the impact that you were having on things like that at that time?
Well, let's see. In the U.S., it was similar, even though a lot of the punk and new wave female-fronted bands were getting, on cool radio stations, not classic rock, of course, but the more modern radio stations and the college radio stations and MTV. But as far as the hard rock world, there just weren't even that many female bands doing it. You know what I mean? But I think that the early 90s, I hear a lot of younger people reminisce about that time because, there were so many women that were getting on the radio, cool stuff, Kim Deal and the Breeders, and just and we were getting on MTV too. So there was that was kind of a good time, I think, for a lot of female fronted bands and female bands.
Going back to that time and when you were first working on that album, of course you were working with Butch Vig, and there'd been a lot of changes. You changed your record label and things like that. Can you remember back to that time what it was like working on that album? Did it feel like you were working on something so special to what that album became?
Well, There was excitement because we were signed to a major. It was still an indie slash records, but they had just been kind of umbrellaed by Warner Brothers. So we had the beauty of having this kind of small boutique local cool label who had put out Violent Femmes and X and the Blasters and the Germs, and yet all of a sudden they had this big worldwide distribution. So we were in a pretty sweet spot, like we had like-minded people at our label, and then the powerhouse of Warner Brothers behind us, for worldwide exposure. So we felt that excitement, and when we were making the record Nirvana hit with, Nevermind, and Butch had just worked with them, and so it was really kind of like the heat was on, man. We felt excitement, but also pressure and anticipation. So, and we didn't sell nearly as many as Nirvana, but hey, man, we made our mark, and that's cool, So I'm pretty proud of the record.
Going back and remembering that, can you remember what kind of things were inspiring your lyrics back then? Like, I know there was a breakup song on there, but was there anything else inspiring your lyrics at that time as well?
A breakup song, huh?
I don't know. I was reading that the other day, that apparently "Pretend We're Dead" was supposed to be a breakup song.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's like, listen, inspirations for songs come from a lot of different places, but yeah, that is not a breakup song. That song is about apathy.
Yep.
And being a lazy sod, and then bad shit happens in the world. That's what that's about. But yeah, so I don't think that may have flashed in my brain, but I don't think I've ever written a breakup song. Because I always talk myself out of it. Like, this person is not worth a breakup song. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So, I usually don't go for that kind of stuff, and I don't think I'm very good at it anyway. So, but lyrically, other stuff, Shitless kind of speaks for itself, and Susie's song "Monster," she's pretty good at singing about messed up relationships, and that one's kind of a sweet one comparatively for what she writes about sometimes. But "Slide," for example, is about our exes, Susie and my exes, and we were just talking about all the craziness that they put us through. So not really a breakup song. Well, I guess it is a breakup song, actually, but it's one with a lot of sass and humor.
Yeah. And
irony. So, yeah. Yeah, so I think we were writing about our lives. A lot of people think that our songs are kind of made up, but like Scrap is about a real guy that we knew, and most of our songs are semi-autobiographical.
What's it like for you going back and revisiting those lyrics now, playing the album in whole? Is that a bit of a weird experience? I know there's a lot of tracks on there that you've been playing for years and years now, but does it feel strange sometimes going back and revisiting those lyrics?
I think that they hold up, because we weren't, even like Wargasm was based on I guess it was the Gulf War that was starting at that time. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But one of our stupid wars was going on. But, it still rings true, right? Because it wasn't about that specific war. It was about the insanity of war in general, So it still holds up, and we can sing these songs passionately and truthfully because they were never really topical. They're just kind of, I don't consider them novelty. I don't consider them topical. They're still, we can still deliver them passionately and honestly. So that's the most important thing. What the challenge is playing it from front to back, because the pacing of it is not how we would do it live. Like live, we like to mix up our career in the rock blocks, we call them. We'll play 3 songs and take a break, 3 songs and take a break, and it's the pacing is weird. But if you love the record, you're going to love the pacing. But for us, it was a challenge to kind of get into the groove of the pacing of Bricks Are Heavy. But it's working. The audiences are loving it, so that's super cool.
Before you started these tours, were there any tracks on there that you'd never played live before? Because I know there's been a few bands that we've spoken to that have come on our show who have been doing 20th anniversaries of albums, and they've said when they've sat down to rehearse, they've realized, actually, we've never played that track live before. Were there any tracks like that on Bricks Are Heavy?
Yeah, we had never played the last song on the record, which is called This Ain't Pleasure. And we had never played One More Thing until we reunited a few years ago.
Yep.
I guess it's 7 years ago. Jesus. And we have not done Wargasm in many, many years. So starting out with Wargasm, which is very fast, is challenging.
Yep.
And it's challenging for me vocally because it's it's a very low register, and to project that live is tough for me. So that's why we kind of retired it in the first place. But so that's a challenge, and then we end it with a challenge, which is This Ain't Pleasure. So that kind of ends the first part of the set, and then we jump to other songs from our career.
Yep, definitely. Awesome. So, Donita, I know we're running out of time very, very quickly, so quick 2 questions. First of all, what do you all like to do away from the stage when you're in a country like Australia that you don't get to visit very often? Is there something that you like to go and do to relax between shows?
Well, we can't get over the koalas and the kangaroos.
Yeah.
We must see them. So it's like, I don't go to zoos in the United States, really. Like, we don't have a very good one in LA, and, sometimes they kind of depress me or whatever.
Yeah.
But the Australian zoos we go to are really, they're really great. So we love to do that. And to get out on the water is always a pleasure if we have the time to do it. I'm hoping to get to the Great Barrier Reef at the conclusion of this tour this time, and just take just a few days, go up there. And hey, if anybody has any tips on that, hit me up on Instagram of where to go, where to stay, because I'm really just starting to do the reconnaissance on that now.
Yep.
But I'm determined to do it. I really like snorkeling and stuff. So that's about it.
Well,
I mean, we might get out to see another band, or we might go out dancing or something. But we're kind of older now.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just like to get in the bathtub. So after the gig.
Well, for non-depressing zoos, when you're in Melbourne, I would highly suggest that you go to Werribee Plains Zoo. It's about 20 minutes out of Melbourne, and it's actually like a farm. So to go down and have a look at the African animals, you actually have to go on a bus and drive through what is like the African savannah. It's absolutely amazing. It's one of the largest zoos in the Southern Hemisphere because of the fact that they have this huge savannah that is just hectare after hectare after hectare. So yeah, that's well worth a visit. And they've got an Australian animal section as well, so you'll be able to see kangaroos and koalas.
Whoa, that's amazing. And that's like 20 minutes outside Melbourne?
Yeah, it's called the Werribee Plains Zoo. Yep.
Oh, that's so cool, because we're playing like 3 shows in Melbourne now, because I guess the first 2 sold out.
Yep.
And there's another one. So I may actually looks like I'm going to have a few days in Melbourne, so thanks for the tip. That's amazing.
No problem. And to finish off the interview, what would you like to say to all of your fans out there who are going to be heading along to these shows?
We are so excited to be coming down there. My only regret is that we're not doing any all ages, it looks like. That's been something we always try to do, is play all ages, because we care about the kids and the teens. And we've been told that there are insurance issues and liability issues, and it's very difficult for a band of our size to play all ages venues.
Yep.
Because we're not big enough, probably, to play all ages venues. So that's one thing, man. I would love to play some shows for the young ones, but I don't know. Maybe we'll figure something out. But we're still trying on that. So, but we're really looking forward to seeing you. We're gonna rock you. You guys are gonna rock us, and we're hoping to have a blast.